I am so excited for today's conversation on Rebel Radio with my new friend, James Gardiner. Am I saying that right?
You are indeed, Gardner.
Yes,
Yep.
look at me go.
Yes.
So I'm super stoked. James found me. We found each other on Facebook, and we just decided that like minds think alike. And so here we are on Rebel Radio. Super excited to dive into this conversation. James, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do and who you are.
Sure. James Gardner. I'm a performance coach with a company called Leap Zone Strategies, and we work on personal and business development, working with small business startups all the way up to multi-million-dollar corporations and businesses. And it's truly a blessing when you land doing something that you love,
Mm.
and motivating and inspiring others to be the best versions of themselves is flipping fantastic.
Isn't it though? Yes. We were talking
Uh,
about this before we started this episode about how we've both tried to hold down the JOBs that just felt like soul sucking, horrible. No
there is,
thanks.
they're like soul vampires. It's just so it's debilitating
Absolutely.
for some people, right?
For some people,
Yeah,
they're designed for that.
that's right.
I'm an entrepreneur born and bred, so it's not something that I can do.
It's not for rebels.
It's not for rebels, exactly. So I don't usually bring in our listeners, but we have a listener right now that's super excited that there is a man on Rebel Radio. You're the first man.
Am I really?
You are.
Fucking A. Look at that.
I love
All
it.
right.
I love it. So tell me a little bit about what self-mastery means to you.
Oh,
I feel like it's the word success. Everybody's got a different definition of what that means.
yeah. Self-mastery for me and the way that I go about business with others is it's treating yourself. We say this at the Leap Zone, treating yourself like $1 million client.
Mhm.
And we all have the responsibility, in my opinion, we all have the responsibility to be in business of ourselves. We are a brand, and we need to treat ourselves like a brand and like a $1 million client. So that's what
Mm.
self-mastery is as a whole. And then, of course, making that shit happen takes the deep work. It takes
Yes.
commitment, takes consistency, commitment, courage, all of that for sure.
Absolutely. Oh, I love that. Treat yourself like $1 million client. That is good. That's a tweetable right there.
Tweetable.
So tell us a little bit about your journey of self-mastery and what you've learned along the way.
Yeah, I grew up with an athletic mindset always, right? So I was very privileged and blessed to be in a sport called rowing, very demanding, highly disciplined, team oriented sport. And so I learned how to be disciplined, how to follow through and set action items or training plans and do that. And then I became a coach, and obviously that was very instilled. So I have a strategic mindset for sure. I
Mm-hmm.
map stuff out and I can hold myself. It wasn't until though about 4 or 5 years ago when I started to kind of get on this grace path and understanding that true kind of bliss, if you will, is when you're in that flow state and adding that kind of self-love into that self-mastery. That was the missing piece for me.
Oh,
um, you
yes. I
know
love that you say that. Yeah.
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 And so I always make it a point to lead with love in everything that I do,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's for myself, for my clients, for my family, whatever that may be. um, I've my journey has gone from selfish to selflessness. Self, yeah, and self, yeah, I got it.
That
And
makes sense.
what, but and then of course in that is the discipline to keep ourselves on track.
Mhm.
We, as motivators and coaches, we're no different than the people that we work for. We have to do the work too. It's constant.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I always say, every good coach needs a coach.
100%. It's funny you say that because I say be wary of the coach with no coach.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
exactly, right?
Yeah,
100%.
I am constantly messaging my mentor, and always I'm in her inbox all the time. I'm sure she's fully aware of that. But that's what I'm committed to doing the work on myself first and foremost, because I don't feel that it's an integrity in any way, shape, or form for me to show up out of alignment and then tell my clients I've got it all together. I don't have it all together.
Yeah, and I found the ability to to I don't I don't have to operate with smoke and mirrors. I'm
Yes.
I'm actually very transparent.
Mhm.
This is the shit that I struggle with,
Yeah.
right? And I think that's a key component, right? I mean, we know everywhere we look, it can be rainbows and unicorns, and that's just not fucking reality,
Right.
right? And even for performance coaching, like people think that we have all the answers. Well, we have some answers, but we're still on a search ourselves, right? It never
Mhm.
stops,
Yeah,
you know.
absolutely. It's a journey that we're constantly just digging a little deeper, digging a little deeper.
And you have to,
Yeah.
again, right? It's I like you said, deep, because people want to go in and it's kind of superficial work, and nothing really happens with the superficial work. You got to dig deep, you know.
Absolutely. I was one of those people that thought I could just skim over the surface for the long time. Yeah, when you come from an addiction background, you can't just skim across the surface to heal
Yeah.
deep trauma and anything that's happened. It's about going right into the depths of your soul and finding out what's going on in there.
Yeah, and it's not always easy. It's not pleasant, and it takes a hell of a lot of courage to do it. However,
Mhm.
once we get out on the other side, fuck, it's awesome, right?
Boom. So good.
Yeah,
So good.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, here at Rebel Radio, we like to speak our truth. So, what
Hmm.
is one truth that you wish every entrepreneur knew?
That their business unequivocally 100% starts with them. Period.
Yes.
Doesn't matter what
Yes.
what you offer. Doesn't matter the great quick get rich quick schemes. They're creative, they're disciplined, whatever. Doesn't matter if they're not fully aware and self-present of honoring the truth inside. There will always be a misalignment somewhere, always,
Ugh,
right? As
yes.
it goes out. Yeah.
I love that you say that. This is actually something that I work with my clients is people aren't attracted to what you do or your skill set. They're attracted to who you are. And if you're showing up with something out of alignment, they can feel that. They know. And then all of a sudden you're like, why am I not selling anything? Well, because you're out of alignment.
Totally.
Yeah.
Right. And people are getting more and more in tune to that.
Hmm.
That shift has happened. The snake oil salesmen are kind of, their beacon is like, aha, not that guy or not that woman,
Yeah.
right? It's like, yeah.
Absolutely. We've
So,
gone through this shift in consciousness where people,
yeah.
even if they're not consciously aware that they're aware, but they are, and they can sense it like that. And that old school marketing, oh, it makes my skin crawl. It's just,
I know.
oh,
I know.
yeah. So, what's one thing that you've discovered about yourself along your journey that you would want to share with our audience today?
You got a few hours? I'm
I
actually
like
ready.
to I like to go down the rabbit hole.
um, One thing I'd like to share. It's never too late to find and honor the truth, and that has been the culmination of my journey. Like I mentioned, right, starting about 4 or 5 years ago. But it was only really in the last 2.5, 3 years that some really dramatic pivotal shifts happen, which then just catapult me to another plane. And with that, because I'm getting up there in age, there was a lot of internal pressure, a lot of things to do, and societal pressures and things like that. And I just had to honor myself and search. As Brene talks about braving the wilderness, right?
Yeah.
I was in it. I couldn't see shit through the trees, and it took a while. And as we said earlier, right? It's just once you do the work and come out, it's amazing.
Oh, yeah.
And the last little sprinkle on that is when I came out of the other side, it was about contribution. Everything, you know, it's not. I'm here to be of service to others in what I do, and embracing that. That truth has really elevated me for sure.
Oh, I love that. And, you know, it really brings us back to this. If we don't fill our own cup up first, we can't be of service. And so we do have to be selfish in the beginning as we're digging through all the deep, dark demons and clearing up the onions of the layers of the onion. Getting ahead of myself there. But we have to be selfish as we fill up our own cup and discover ourselves and understand who we are and our sabotages and all of those pieces. But on the other side of that is always service. Every single time, every person I've ever worked with, they land on the other side and they're like, how can I help?
Right. You see it, and that's, you know, you mentioned addiction earlier, and I mean that's a big part of that whole process is coming out the other side and being of service to their fellow person in some way, and it's the same for other people, for whatever journey that is, coming out the other side and realizing that there's more than just you, and to collectively raise the frequency. That's what it's all about.
Ugh,
So,
man after my own heart. So who are you most motivated to serve?
anyone that wants to make a change in their life, period. And I truly mean that. I, yes, predominantly work with businesses, with business owners, and yet it's still the person underneath the brand, and you know, it's just, there's so many people out there that have been tiptoeing on that precipice and just can't find a catalyst or the reason to take that leap, right? And to go on that self exploration journey, because it's scary, right? And those are the people, you know, I want to be the person waving them to jump off the cliff. Let's go. Let's go. You know, I'm not holding them back. It's like, let's go, right? Let's fly. Life's too flippin' short.
Right? Yeah. What's so okay? This is bringing up a question that's not on the list of questions, so that's fun. So, what's one piece of advice you would give to somebody who is right at the edge and is feeling that desire to leap and yet total fear of what's out there in the unknown?
Two things. Number one, before everyone usually gets paralyzed by getting caught up in the how. How,
yes.
right?
That was me.
Okay. So the only thing that you can positively do is be crystal clear on the what. What do you want? The how presents itself. And once you get clear on the what, you need there has to be an impetus of courage to take the very first step. And everybody can look within and go down their own journey of when they exhibited what I call residual courage or residual confidence. There's all these little micro and macro moments that if we actually sit and reflect on, we truly can realize that we have the ability to do whatever it is we really want to do, period. Period.
Mic drop. Yeah, that how thing was something that got me caught for a long time. And I say to my clients now, if you already knew how to get what you want, you'd already have it. It's not your job to know how. There are so many moving pieces that we cannot perceive or understand, and there's 8 billion other people on the planet that are also living in their own perceptions. How could you possibly try to control that?
Right. And that's and it's, you know, it is a little bit of a trust and a faith part, and just, you know, understanding that, you know, things will manifest and show themselves as they do. And I think once and in my journey, it was the same. Once you actually begin to trust in the unknown, and you're just clear and you anchor in on what you want, your eyes start to see things differently. You start to become aware of this next possible opportunities, and they're like stepping stones, and they just kind of magically appear.
Yeah. It's
know?
like following the breadcrumbs, right?
It is.
Yeah,
It really is. And
absolutely.
it's kind of exciting too, because at the end of the day, it's all the story, it's the perception that we create in our mind, period. Right? And change around your perception, and you have a chance to write the blank page. You really do.
Oh, so good. So you mentioned discipline at the very beginning. What are some of the routines or rituals that you're committed to on a daily basis that help support you?
Yeah. I call that my winning ritual. So it's different for everyone, but for me, it is a non-negotiable. It's every day. Some of it now, there's ebbs and flows of different things depending on different days, but I have things that are non-negotiable. I do breathing as soon as I get up in the morning. The first thing I do is I do my breath work. A few minutes. I try to just kind of mentally set. I always come up with an intention for the day. How do I want this day to go? How does that make me feel? And I write it on my little post-it notes on my monitor here every day, and that anchors me through the day. Depending on the day, I'm very fitness orientated, so I always go to the gym or do something active, run, gym, whatever it is. And then I treat my body with the fuel, and my body and my mind with the fuel that I need to be at my best. Being an athlete in the past, now I am an athlete. I'm just in a different arena. I'm a coach, and so in order for me to perform at my best optimally, I also had to feed it the right fuel. So that's there. I have my book, so I usually read about a 20-minute section of the current book that I'm reading in the morning as well, and I sprinkle in a YouTube video here and there. So that's kind of all like my little buffet in the morning. And then I always end the night with a gratitude. So I sit on the edge of the bed before I go in, and I just give thanks for the day, and I recount 3 things that I'm grateful for the day. And, I mean, a gratitude practice is so powerful in its simplicity, and we forget there's always something to be grateful for.
Yes.
I don't give a shit what's happened in the day. There is always a positive.
Always.
Always.
Always. I like to do gratitude rampages when I've had a really bad day. I'll just go around my house and just be like, thank you for the kitchen table because it gives me a place for my family to sit and enjoy a meal together. And I just go off on a rampage. And by the end of it, I'm like, that wasn't such a bad day after all.
I like that. Gratitude rampage.
Yeah.
Kind of goes with the whole Rebel Radio.
A little
I like
bit.
it. Yeah. Rampage.
Right?
Yeah.
James, I have enjoyed this conversation. I could go on for hours, but we're going to finish this off with one last question.
Okay, fire away.
What do you dream of for the world?
4-letter word. It's not an F-bomb.
I was waiting for it.
Love. Love. Pure and simple love.
Simple.
Love in all things. I think underneath that, everything kind of falls into place. So
I agree.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here. It's been an honor to have you, and I've loved this conversation. Thank you.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Thank you so much. Pleasure is all mine. Thank you.